the function sine square omega t represents. Let us suppose the function fx is given by sine square omega t. Rather I should write sine ft, right? Because it is varying with time. Now let us see the options: a period but not simple harmonic with period, this thing, a periodic but not simple harmonic. So first of all, in every option it is asking about the period of the function, and if you have done a little bit of functions chapter in mathematics, you might be able to calculate the period of the function very easily. If I do it for you, I can write this as 1 minus cos square omega t, or even if what I can do is I can draw the graph of this function, right? If I draw the graph of this function, I can write this as I can draw it as this. Basically the peaks will be at the same value. I'm not able to draw it properly. So this will be 0, this will be pi omega, pi by omega, 2 pi by omega, 3 pi by omega, right? Because it is time versus ft, right? So basically this is periodic with a period of pi by omega, because after an interval of pi by omega it is getting repeated itself. So that means the period will be obviously pi by omega. So that means we can directly eliminate options B and D, right? You can directly see from there, or otherwise there is another method. If I do it by this method, which is 1 minus cos square omega t, I can write this as cos square omega t will be written as 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2, right? So this can be written as 1 by 2 plus cos 2 omega t by 2 basically. So what will be the period of the function? It will now be determined by this function, because in cases of square or cubing we have to convert it to the basic terms, right? So we can see over here, if the time period, if t becomes equal to pi by omega, right? So this will become cos 2 pi, and after an interval of 2 pi cos repeats itself, right? So that means the time period is pi by omega, right? So these are the two ways how we can calculate the period. So we have eliminated B and D. Now we have to see between A and C. So what is the difference? It is saying that it is periodic motion but not SHM, and C option is saying it is SHM. Now what is the condition for SHM? The condition for SHM is d2y by dt square should be directly proportional to y, right? Minus of y basically. So if fx or yt is basically sine square omega t, right? So if I calculate dy by dt, what will be that? It will be 2 sine omega t into cos omega t into omega, right? If I calculate d2y by dt square, right, again, so I can write it as 2 omega, I can take it as common, so it will be cos square omega t, right, minus sine square omega t, right? And there will be an omega will be multiplied, because when you differentiate this, an omega will be multiplied over here and over here also. So I'll get 2 omega square into cos square omega t minus sine square omega t, right? Now I can write this cos square omega t as 1 minus sine square omega t. So this will be 2 omega square into 1 minus 2 sine square omega t. Now I can write this sine square omega t as y. So that means d2y by dt square will be equal to what? 2 omega square into 1 minus 2y. Now omega is constant, so that means directly we can write this as d2y by dt square is directly proportional to minus of y. That means this particle is executing SHM and with a period of pi by omega. That means option C is correct.